So what I feel like here is that for some of you, there's really not a whole lot of connection with the person that you're focused on. And I think that you're okay. Like, I feel like you're okay with that. That you're okay being open to, whatever new experiences are ahead of you. With the Ten of Pentacles, though, this may have been like a long-term relationship for some of you. You may still be focused on this person. Or we're talking about you already being in a place of security and stability here. They are showing the Chariot. Now, this, like I've been saying, can be about like a long distance relationship, somebody being at a distance, or they're coming to you. That, or they're needing to get control over themselves, their own lives, right? Feel like they're headed in the right direction when it comes to being involved with you. But that's not really what's happening. With the Nine of Wands, like I said, I get the feeling that a lot of you are kind of like fine where you're at. You have security and stability. It's not that you really need this person to come in. I think that with the Nine of Wands, it's not that you're completely blocking them out, but I find it interesting that the both of you are meeting each other kind of the same way here. They may be looking at you as the Queen of Swords, being cold and shut off. It's just that there are some things that, you're not willing to let into your life right now. And it could have to do with them, which is possible here. Now, with the Queen of Swords, though, they may also be a little bit harsh because they don't understand where you're coming from. Like, I think that they're looking at you like, we need to get this relationship going, but, maybe it's not something that you want to do anymore. Because with Temperance, right, you're just trying to keep your balance and keep yourself in check. But I also feel like you're wanting to keep, things open for you right now. With the Hangman, I mean, definitely this is not about you waiting for somebody else. This is you right now not really willing to act on this situation. Now, for some of you, absolutely, it could be that you're dealing with a person here that's kind of holding up the show. It's like they want to go, but then they don't. But with the Six of Wands, I feel like what's happening here is that they're expecting some attention from you, but I don't think that they're actually getting it. And I think that they start to realize that maybe they need to think about, moving on or looking at other options or other choices. Because I don't feel victory here in this situation. I mean, not with the Hangman being across from that, And I don't think it's about patiently waiting here with Temperance. I really feel like that it's about, first of all, you needing to keep your own balance and inner harmony going here. But I also feel like they need to keep themselves in check because they come in a little bit too quick here. And they may get a little upset because you're not really open to this just yet. Or I should say, you're not open to it at all, the way that it comes out, but we'll clarify here. But, like I said, with the Six of Wands, I don't feel victory here. I feel like, a sense of entitlement almost. Like, you should be paying attention to me, but, you're not in a place where that's something that you're wanting to do. I don't think that you really know how you want to move forward with this person. And ultimately here with the Five of Pentacles, you're talking about rejection with this. Now, like I said, it could be that you're dealing with somebody that is rejecting you. But I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that this is you because you're okay where you're at. Now, with the Two of Wands, though, this is really about, well, I moved so quickly into this. Maybe I need to rethink what my plans are. But I think that that's both of you coming out. Is there a way forward? Is there a way to, plan things a little bit better here instead of trying to rush into something when somebody else isn't ready? But like I said, with the King of Wands, and if this is about the other person, it's definitely about you looking at them like they are entitled to something from you. But I feel like with that being in the middle, it's really about, you kind of enjoying your life, honestly. And then the Eight of Cups, yeah. And, like I said, I feel like that's for you. Like, maybe it's just time to move on from this. Now, with the Knight of Wands and looking at the Four of Pentacles, now let's say that this does have to do with the other person here, because I am looking at the King of Wands right in the middle. You know, I do feel like it's going to be you, though, whether you're male or female. But if we're talking about the other person, you may feel like they don't really think about the consequences of their actions, or they're constantly in and out, or just, you know, on the move, constantly following their own passions. But the Four of Pentacles, this is what gets me, because the first thing that I felt with looking at this is that they don't want to let go of you. And they don't want to let go of what little stability they have with you. I think that they're trying to plan things out a little bit differently, because I don't think that they want to let the relationship go. You may be the one that's like, you know, I want to keep myself open, right? I want to keep myself open to other options. The Eight of Pentacles and the Tower. And here's the thing, especially with the Five of Pentacles, right? It may be that for some of you, you may have lost a lot before, but like I said, you come into this looking stable now and you want to continue to work on that. You know, and I don't think that this is something that you want to be a part of, or you don't want them to be a part of your life. Like, no, you can't move in with me and I can't help you, right? Like, I'm working on things for myself. That's what I feel like. I feel like your focus is somewhere else. And like I said, with the Tower, for them, what they thought and what they were holding on to here is all coming down. And it's like, oh, okay, well, now I need to figure out what I'm doing here, but they're not really letting go of you though either. Now with the Magician, you know, that could definitely be them trying to work their magic, so to speak, to make things work, right? And that may be an option for them to, you know, try to do this, but you're ultimately going to move into a place where you're done. Like with the Eight of Cups, you're wanting to move on now. This is not something that you want to invest in, because I feel like if you do, you're going to end up disappointed anyway with that Eight of Pentacles being there. I mean, there's a reason why you're showing the Hangman, you know, especially if it has to do with their attitude and their feeling of you should be recognizing me or giving me your attention, and this like self-entitled type of feeling, right? Now that may not be the case for everybody. Please remember, general reading, right? You will know if you're dealing with a person like this. But I would say that right now, your own, you know, balance and equilibrium is going to be more important than getting involved with a person who feels like that you should be getting involved with them. And then the Wheel. I think that somebody is kind of hoping that things are going to change with you, seriously. But with deception, they're not being very honest with you. And I don't think that it's you here being deceitful. I think that for you, you really have nothing to hide. I think that there are things that you're not seeing about the other person, because I feel like this is almost like all you here and this is them. Now, with the Fool, for those of you who are happy and single, you're moving on from shitty relationships. This is really taking a new path in your love life. You know, and I don't feel like this is about you taking a leap of faith one way or the other. I think that with the Lovers, you know, this is going to have to do with you kind of moving on in your love life. You may be leaving one person behind, but there is another person that is trying to get your attention. You know, now for some of you, it's, I just can't make a choice and as far as what to do with my love life here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do my own thing. But I do think that some of you are kind of like keeping yourself open, you know, and I'm seeing that a lot with a lot of people this week. With the Queen of Wands, you know, this can be looked at as somebody who is usually not available, or they like to keep their options open, you know, and don't want to be tied down one way or the other. But with the Five of Wands, somebody is paying attention to you and what you're doing in your love life. That is what I feel like looking at this. And with the Nine of Wands, I think that they're trying to come in and try to fix things and get you to choose them. And I think that they're hoping that, you know, with the Wheel, things are going to change. Now, it could be that you had to walk away from this person because they couldn't figure out what was going on for them in terms of their love life. But apparently they can't let you go. You know, I think that, you know, with the Queen of Wands, this I feel like is you. I feel like that is the other person and what they're watching in terms of you, which is, you know, a little bit creepy, but yeah, but no. You know, and this is with the Three of Swords to me one of those situations where I don't know that you want to be involved with this person, especially if they are in a relationship that they're not happy with. You know, and I feel like for you though, if you get involved with this person, you know, and they try to convince you that, you know, you should choose them, I don't think that you're going to be happy. Ultimately, I feel like you're going to end up like stepping out onto other options, you know, but I don't think that that's deceptive on your part. I think that the other person is deceiving themselves right now and thinking that, you know, this could be something long term with you. And I don't think that that's where you're at, you know, because of the Fool kicking this off. I feel like you're just, you know, I'm doing my own thing, you know, but I don't like the Three of Swords coming out on this, because this to me feels like almost like a prediction, you know, other than the fact that you may be dealing with somebody who, you know, is involved somewhere else. You know, now, like I said, for some of you, you may be dealing with, you know, a person who couldn't make up their mind between you and someone else, but you're like, I'm all right. Like, I really do feel like the Fool is you. Like, I'm on the move. I'm going somewhere else now. But yet they can't leave you alone. So let me just start from the beginning here, because I'm looking at keep an open mind, right? This person isn't really what you expected. So if you aren't keeping an open mind, then is that leading into a place where, you know, you're doing something that maybe you shouldn't be doing? You know, but with the Sun being there, right? But I don't know. That feels a little bit iffy to me. So let's just start from the beginning. So with the Five of Swords, you're talking about overcoming feelings of inadequacy. That is what that card is about. So somebody was made to feel like they weren't enough. But if they're feeling that way, I feel like it's on them, because with the Four of Wands, otherwise, you know, you're having a great time. I mean, this is having fun. This is lighthearted energy within the relationship. Now, if that person is still carrying those feelings, they're having a hard time expressing it to you. But I have to wonder if they're not blaming you for this, because the Queen of Swords, right, is looking at her partner like, you weren't available to me, you broke my heart. That's what I see there, is the Three of Swords, even though there's a shit ton of pins in it. But what I don't like here is that they're giving the impression that they're okay, though. And I feel like you're kind of caught in the middle of this, thinking that everything is all right, but you may actually be dealing with somebody who is straight up jealous of you, though, too. You know, they may be kind of looking at all the things that you may have done in the past. You know, the Tower has a weird feeling. And then the Eight of Swords. With the Ace of Wands, we're talking about, you know, getting over issues of the past. And again, overcoming feelings of inadequacy. For a lot of you, you feel like this is a new beginning here within this relationship. And you're having fun. Things are lighthearted. Nothing is really serious, right? And there are no issues for you. But the other person is totally different, which may be why they are not living up to your expectations as far as the soulmate goes. Now, with the Chariot, what I worry about here is they may be looking at you like it's up to you to take control of where this relationship is going. But if they don't tell you, how the hell are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to know what's going on with them? You can't read their mind. And that's my problem looking at this, because I don't like this here. And then if they're blaming you for these feelings, then, you know, if you don't get control over this relationship, right, are they putting on, you know, a false kind of face here with the Sun? Because this to me looks like with the Sun, you're good. I think that you're okay with this relationship. Nothing is really serious here. And it doesn't need to be that way from your perspective. For them, there are some underlying issues that I don't think that you're aware of. And there is some level of jealousy and misunderstanding. Now, for some of you with the Tower, it could absolutely be about somebody who is cheating. You know, because the Tower in this deck is deception, jealousy, lies, deceit, right? But with the Eight of Swords, you're talking about somebody who's being put in an uncomfortable position. But what I think is happening here is that this person has a very different view of you. They may be kind of accusing you of doing something that maybe you're not doing. You know, and they may have problems here where they feel uncomfortable. They feel like you're not really being honest in that, you know, you're doing other things, right? Because I'm looking at the devil here. But, you know, the thing is that nothing to me here looks like it's really happening, to be honest with you. With the sun being there, there's really nothing wrong with this relationship. What I feel like is wrong, and the huge indicator here, is what's going on in their own mind and in their own emotions.